This is the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
Brought to you by Lee Health.
Southwest Florida, thanks for staying with us for this final segment of Lee Pitts Live here at the Dunbar Community School, nestled in the heart of the city of Fort Myers if you're watching us around the world. We're so thrilled to have Dr. Bohatch. He's the Director of Athletics and Student Services and everything else pertaining thereto for the Lee County School District. How about that?
All right.
I bet, Dr. Bohatch, they have you doing so much, your title could be even longer, huh?
Well, not too much. But I do juggle a lot of balls, I'll tell you.
One thing about you I noticed over the years that you actually seems to me like a person who enjoys getting up every day going to work. Is that true?
I do. You know, dating back to when I was a teacher, as a principal, and now at the district level, I love what I do.
What excites you most about your job?
Helping kids, no doubt. Been at the district now for 6 years. I could tell you what I miss most is the daily interactions with the students. You know, helping a kid out. Kid needs a pair of sneakers or a tux for prom or whatever. Just those day-to-day interactions. I go to schools now and I'm just a suit that walks in the building. They don't know me. When I was a principal, they knew me.
But that also allows you to relate better to what's going on at the ground level, right?
Yeah, and my role now mainly is helping principals help students. So
the Hurricane Irma is like the highest thing on everybody's mind now. How did that? What impact did that have on our sports in the school district?
Everything shut down. You know, talking to most folks, I think, what happened to football? What about football? So more than just football, swimming shut down, cross country, volleyball. So basically, for a 3-week period, everything came to a halt. So think of the kids training and practicing all summer. All of a sudden, it's not there.
And those games that were not able to be played, they will just not happen.
Well, the district games need to be made up, but just a typical game, oftentimes most of the games are not going to be made up. Swim meets and cross-country meets.
And you at that time was doing what?
During when?
During Hurricane Irma shutdown.
I was not here. I evacuated to Lake Mary to be to be with my.
I thought you were hunkered down like, you know, the governor
Hey,
somewhere.
I was through Hurricane Charlie in Punta Gorda, 2004, and we saw the storm coming. And we thought it best to evacuate, and I want to say to be with my daughter and her grandchildren to help them. So
How important is football to the tradition of
football,
Lee County athletics?
any high school in Alabama, Georgia, whatever, football is huge. If you think of a typical Friday night, you drive to the stadium, first thing you do is you pay somebody for parking, and it could be that ROTC is handling the parking, so they get the revenues from parking. You walk in the gate, you pay to get in. Athletics benefits from the ticket. You take 2 steps, you buy a program. It could be that the cheerleaders are selling the programs. You go pick up a hot dog, the band's selling the hot dog. So you can see that it impacts hundreds and hundreds of students. At any one time, you could have 50% of a campus involved in football. Think about it. Cheerleaders, band, ROTC, football, clubs who sell products at games. So losing a game is significant for a school. Revenue, for sure.
The amount of students that come out of the Lee County School District and go on to play in college sports and some even go on to play in the pros, to me it's just astounding that this area can produce those types of athletes. What is unique about the district, this area, that does that?
I say good coaching. If you look at some of the flagship schools, Fort Myers, for example, the same coaching staff has been in existence for 15 years. As you know, high school sports, coaching is key. North High, we have some folks in the Hall of Fame that played in the NFL. Rich tradition. When I was a principal, I have a student now who's in the NFL, and I think it's the tradition, the community, coaching, a combination of leadership in the school that helps students excel both in the classroom and on the field.
What are some things that are staying on football and the whole movement around making football safer? Have we in our district really embraced that and work and implement certain things?
It's a great question, and of course the schools buy the best equipment available to prevent any type of concussion. But we certainly have a concussion protocol here in Lee County. All students are baseline tested prior to the season. If there are any symptoms of concussion, pull the kids in, put them on the computer, and see where they're at. We've got athletic trainers that constantly monitor that. Serious thing, concussions, I mean, as you know.
What do you have to say to those people who say, we we being schools in general spend too much time talking about sports and don't focus enough on academics?
Well, I think that's the perception because the media grabs football games and you pick up a newspaper, on Saturday morning they're going to report on football, but the reality is that students are held to an academic standard or they can't participate. So they've got to have a minimum grade point average to be eligible to play. Where sports comes in, sports helps kids do better in school. We talked about that a little bit earlier.
What are the biggest challenges facing athletics now in the school?
I think time for a lot of students and swim practice in the morning. They're in the pool at 5:30 before school. They go to class. After school, they've got practice again. They got to go home. They got to do homework. Up 5 o'clock the cycle continues.
But I recall from my days of being in all these sports that made me more time management conscious, and I noticed that certain people play certain sports, they make good grades. And I think all of that hard pumping, the brain working, the tight schedule, got to get that homework in, got to study. Is there a direct correlation that you're seeing between people who play sports and good grades?
I think so, and I think it's critically important, like you said earlier, to stay organized. And I talked to kids when I was a principal. When you're going off to college, you're going to have a lot more free time than in high school, where we're constantly on you and you're going from one class to another. It could be in college, you're off one day with 0 classes. So managing and budgeting time is critical. But
do you have some new sports on tap that's going to be into the school system now? And tell me, what's the process of launching a new sport?
Well, first of all, they got to make the request to my office, and then I've got to submit paperwork to the Florida High School Athletic Association. Right now, we're looking at beach volleyball. Get ready for that, and I think that's real doable. It doesn't cost a lot of money for a startup. Bring in some beach sand, have a net, and buy some uniforms. And a couple of schools are really interested in beach.
A lot of cardio. Everybody can play it, and it looks like a great workout.
It's not an easy sport, for sure.
Now, we have indoor volleyball now, right?
Right.
Pretty standard. A lot of those students will play both, and they'll be in different seasons.
Correct. They're looking at a spring season for the beach volleyball.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Well, Dr. Bohatch is just thrilled to get you here on the show, and look forward to getting you back in the future and keeping us up on the wonderful things that are happening in athletics.
My pleasure.
Okay, let me bump you out. I want a big shout out to Melissa as well. Mickey, who's right here in the studio making sure everything runs smoothly. She's from the district as well. We'll see you next week on the award-winning Lee Pitts Live.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.